Every once in a while, you come across an old photograph, an old conversation, or a memory you haven't visited in years. And for a moment, it's not the memory that feels unfamiliar. It's you. You know it was you. You remember making those decisions, feeling those emotions, believing those things. And yet, there's a strange distance. Not because you've forgotten, but because the mind that made those decisions no longer feels available to you. Sometimes it's a version of you from 20 years ago. Sometimes it's only 2. And somehow, the 2-year-old version feels farther away, and not because of time, but because somewhere along the way, the person who understood that life stopped feeling familiar. It's not nostalgia, not regret, something quieter, almost as if part of your own life was lived by someone you can no longer become. Maybe that's why these moments feel so difficult to describe, because nothing about them is obvious. You aren't looking at a stranger, you're looking at yourself. The memories are still there, the places still exist, the conversation still happened. Nothing about the past has disappeared. And yet, something about it no longer fits. Not the events, the person inside them. You remember caring about things that no longer matter to you. You remember fears that no longer feel possible, certainties that now seem almost impossible to imagine believing. Sometimes, you wish you had known then what you know now. Other times, you wish you still saw the world the way you did back then. Sometimes you're grateful that you've changed. Sometimes, you quietly miss the parts of yourself that never came back. Whatever the feeling, the experience is strangely similar. You remember the life, but the person who knew how to live it feels just out of reach. Maybe that's why time doesn't seem to explain these moments very well. We've all looked back 20 years and still felt connected to the person we were. And we've all looked back too and wondered what happened. If time were the reason, those moments should feel the opposite. But they don't, because the distance isn't measured in years, it's measured somewhere else. The strange thing is, the memories themselves are usually intact. You still remember the place, the conversation, the decision. You can describe what happened, almost exactly as you remember it. What quietly slips away is something much harder to notice. The mind that understood those moments, while they were happening. You can revisit the memory, but you can't quite return to the person who once knew exactly why those choices made sense. The memories survive, but the person who once knew how to live inside them no longer feels completely available. Maybe you've never tried putting this feeling into words before. Most people don't, because it disappears almost as quickly as it arrives. If these conversations help you notice the things that are usually difficult to describe, consider subscribing. This channel is simply a place for slowing down and looking at them together. But if the person who once lived those memories no longer feels completely available to us, then it raises a quieter question. When we look back, what exactly are we calling me? The body changed, the thoughts changed, the fears changed, the certainties changed. Even the way the world made sense changed. And yet, we still speak about that person as though they've been continuously becoming us, almost as if there has only ever been one uninterrupted self. Maybe that's because memory makes our lives feel continuous. One moment leads to the next. One year follows another. The story never stops. So we assume the person inside the story never really changes either. But perhaps those are 2 different things. We rarely stop to question it. The feeling that somehow, through every version of ourselves, we have remained the same person, even though we casually admit the opposite. We say, "I've changed." That feels like another lifetime. And no one finds those sentences strange because they feel true. But imagine someone saying to you, "You're not the same person anymore." Something about that feels different, almost uncomfortable. You don't argue that you've changed. You know you have. What you resist is the suggestion that the person you are today isn't somehow connected to every version that came before. It's a strange contradiction. We accept that we've changed, but we quietly hold on to the belief that all those different versions have somehow been one uninterrupted me. Maybe that's why this feeling catches us off guard. Because every once in a while, we come face to face with a version of ourselves that doesn't just feel different, it feels unexpectedly unfamiliar. And for a brief moment, the continuity we've always assumed doesn't feel quite as effortless anymore. Perhaps that's why this feeling never really belongs to the past. It simply reveals itself there. Because the person in those old photographs once believed they were becoming the person you are today, just as naturally as you believe you're becoming the person you'll be tomorrow. Neither of you could feel the distance coming, because while we're living our lives, change rarely announces itself. It simply becomes the way we think, the way we see, the way the world begins to make sense. Until one day, a memory quietly returns us to a version of ourselves we remember perfectly, and yet can't quite find our way back to. Maybe that's what these moments are quietly reminding us. Not that we've forgotten who we were, but that the person making today's decisions may one day feel just as unfamiliar. Not because they'll be forgotten, but because someone else will quietly inherit these memories, and they'll call themselves me.